We have seen very few. This is yours.
So we wanted to start with the lady in red.
Yes.
So kindly introduce yourself and ask the question.
So the first,
we take one here. Yeah, we can just respond on.
So I respond immediately as we move. Okay.
Yes.
I think that will break monotony.
First of all, it's a pleasure to be part of this great forum. My name is Juliana Olayo, CEO Open Talk. We are celebrating International Boy Child Day, Sindio.
Oh, for us.
Lakini, as I stand here, I got an award the other day. It was for East African Thamani, mental health champion, and it's been a journey. So when I stand here before you, I stand from a point of respect. I stand saying that the boy child is suffering. The boy child is suffering, and I am sure, Mr. Mbadi, you are a very intelligent CS. Nimekufuata siku mingi na tunakuheshimu kwa kazi mzuri umefanya. Mungu amekubariki na akili, si ndio? Vijana wanaumia. Me when I stand here, I won an award, but I'm sad. Because what kind of an award did I win? An award of fighting mental illness of our young people. These boys and girls that you see stand or sitting before us, they are suffering. I am sure we've shared enough ideas. When I was at the National Youth Council as a delegate, we've been giving ideas on what needs to be done. On mental health awareness, my question would be, what budget allocation since 2021 to now 2025? We are really struggling with budgeting in regards to even taking our youth to hospitals, our youth to access, pardon?
Yeah, just continue.
Okay, for our youth to access or to access mental care in this country, for them to get better, it's almost 100,000.
Yeah.
The same youth, the trigger is unemployment and suffering and lack of what to do. So my question is, what budget allocations do you, from the deepest part of your heart, have they allocated for this particular thing? Because it's something that I'm very passionate about, and I pray that as we celebrate this day, we don't celebrate days, we celebrate the success stories of making sure that our youth are doing better.
Could we keep it short so that you can allow more to ask the question?
Kindly.
So your question is specifically, how
what
much
budget
allocation to mental health?
All
right, quick one, yes. Just please keep it brief, very brief, and it has to be about the finance bill and the budget, nothing more than that, right?
My name is Wavinya Makai, a recent graduate from the University of Cambridge. I did a Masters of Philosophy in Development Studies and a research on politics of money and finance. Now mine is about the debt. We know there's a lot of conditions that Kenya and African countries face when they're getting external debts. So what is this administration, with your guidance, doing to ensure that we are not always being perceived as the high-risk countries, and yet when we allow foreigners to come in to do investment, we de-risk them from paying whatever they're supposed to pay? So what are we going to do to ensure development actually happens in this country, in this continent? And I think Kenya is like a swing state to ensure that everything is going to work. So kindly address on matters of debt.
Mental health and debt, Bwana CS, mental health, pesa ngapi?
Thank you. First of all, I was actually looking at my data, and I will agree with you that I'm looking at the budget lines and I'm not seeing one that is clearly for mental health or giving specific attention to mental health. You can talk about primary health, there's provision for that and all that, but specifically to deal with mental health, we have provisions here for maternity, for vaccination, for all kinds of budget lines. We have here cover here for expansion of comprehensive cancer vaccination, equipping adults, human vaccination, construction of a cancer center, global fund, malaria, digital health platform, but nothing specifically for mental health. Now that brings me to the question that I started with, that we need to be more involved in budget process in terms of advocacy, because if no one speaks for this segment of health, this kind of health challenge which we have, the mental health, then it will not be captured during the sectoral engagement. As I told you, budget is a process which is more involved at the sectoral meeting. And that takes place between October and November. So I would only advocate, I've taken note of your concern, and we may follow it, because again, budget does not end today. The budget will go through Parliament. We can make small adjustments, not major, and I'm sure there will be other mini budgets coming in. But now for the next financial year, which will be 26-27, I think that your voice should be louder. And for mental health. And I will agree with you. I am a father I have 3 girls, very beautiful, and a very handsome boy, and I know what you are talking about, and I will not go beyond that. On the issue of debt management, you know, as I said before, we will always go for debts. Countries go for debts. America borrows money. China borrows money. Everybody borrows money. It only depends on 2 things. What do you borrow money for? What are you doing with it? And what is the cost? That is what now sets apart China from African countries and America from African countries. Because one, sometimes we get the ration in our borrowing. We borrow on the road. None of you here, if you are good. No, I want to be very careful. If you are prudent enough, you would not go to the bank to borrow money to come and clean you. So in the country, borrow money and invest in productive sector. That is number 1. Number 2, borrow cheaply. So the cheapest loan is usually multilateral, if not grant. Then bilateral. Then before you exhaust multilateral, unfortunately, it is becoming thinner and thinner. The multilateral loans are becoming thinner and thinner. But I want to give you comfort. First, we have started on tightening. For the first time, we budget that came from MDS by 120 billion. I don't think it has ever happened, because we wanted to live within our means. We wanted not to go beyond 4.5% of the deficit to GDP ratio, because that is the starting point if we want to realize debt sustainability. 2, we are exhausting all the cheaper loans first before we go for anything else. And we are also trying to improve our economy in a way that even domestically we borrow responsibly. And we are also working on other macros and fundamentals, like the exchange rates, and that is where I'll end. The exchange rates plays a significant role, contributes a lot to our indebtedness or our debt level, especially external debt. And this is the example. Last year, around March, we had external debts stock, total debts of over 6 trillion. It went down to almost 5 trillion by shilling appreciating from 160 to the dollar to 129, 130. So the currency, foreign currency, can expose a country so badly if it is not well managed. And that is why one of the things that Central Bank of Kenya is doing is to look at our currency and make sure that it works. But it cannot work for CBK if Treasury does not play its role. What almost crashed the shilling was the carelessness, I would say, of decision makers, where we did not even think to prepare for Eurobond that was falling due for payment in June. By February, we still had no strategy on how to settle it. And that is why this year you had that we issue a Eurobond early enough to settle the Eurobond of 2027, because we don't want to again take Kenyans along that route. Come 2027, the Eurobond will have already been cleared. We are now thinking of the 2028 one, so that we manage our debts that are falling due, that are maturing, without exposing our economy to unnecessary shocks. Thank you.
Let's come to this side. We've taken a few from that side. Muthoni, this side. And please keep your questions very short, very short. This gentleman here is a gentleman right at the back there, and this gentleman here.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to stand before the CS today. I'm Kahindi James Kalama from Kilifi County, leading an association known as Kilifi County Comrade Association, and I'm also a member for ACSAP Kenya. We as an association, first, we strongly believe that attendance or attending is not participating, and participation is not representation, and representation is not engagement, and engagement is not action, and action is not impact. My main concern to you, CS, is that we heard you, I saw you in an interview, JK Live, and you see whatever we are discussing here is affected by corruption. And you said that if the leaders or the leaders can reduce or can cut off corruption by 50%, then as a nation we will be able to manage the debt that we are discussing. So my concern is you are sitting at a decision-making table. Why was this coming to you as a proposal to Kenyans? Yet you have that platform to take that responsibility and take actions to ensure that the leaders that we have are not corrupt. So that is what I have to ask you, and it's a pleasure again to stand before you. Thank you.
Please, let's keep our questions about the finance bill and the budget. There's this gentleman here and the gentleman right at the back there.
Hi guys, my name is Brian Mbunde. Kenya is like a matatu. You are the conductor, Ruto is the driver. Each and every year we have all these corruption stories. Wendo makanga. Wendo makanga, because at the end of the day, before nipande matatu wendo nasema tao ni ngapi? Mbao. Lakini nikiingia utasema ni 30. Na nikiingia huko ndani kuna wezi, si ndio? Hao wezi wananiibia. Shida ni wewe ndio conductor. Na wewe ndio unajua kuna wezi kwa hii matatu. How come waombi dere hebu shukisha hao wezi washikwe? So in the next finance bill, as a CS, how are you going to address public concerns about corruption and economic inequality? Because amesema hii mwaka hatuendi maandamano, but last year the biggest reason was there's so much cash that is being budgeted for, but we still have thieves. Your N is going down. Moi University is going down. How are we going to address this issue?
Final question at the back there. Could you speak up, please? We can't hear you.
Good afternoon. I feel privileged to get this opportunity to ask our CS Treasury, John Mbadi. I have 3 questions for you.
Hey, just one question.
I'll be specific and short and precise.
What's your name again?
My name is Collins Gogi from Business Today.
All right, just one question.
Okay. Wanna CS, we have seen that in this budget, content creators are being taxed, whereas their infrastructures are being underfunded. What are you going to do to address that issue? The second question is, in this economy, in this country, we have 75% of the population are youths. You have allocated only 2% to the youth funds. What are you going to do about it? And
thank you. Let's allow others to ask a question, please.
What is the fiscal, how does increasing VAT on essential align with the economic survival of the generation that is already battling joblessness?
All right, thank you so much. Bwana CS, let's him first respond to the questions, please. So, where do we start? Wewe ni makanga, Ruto ni dereva, kuna wezi kwa gari, na wezi hawaambiwi shuka. So, what are you doing kuambia wezi washuke?
Yeah, so, first of all, let me maybe put this thing in perspective, because when I said it, some either for mischievous reasons tried to change the narrative and say that I said that people should steal 50%. No, I actually just gave an example. But if it is true, and I want to repeat it, if it is true that we lose 2 billion per day, I may not vote for that figure. It was mentioned by former president, who has all the instruments, including NIS, and he said that we are losing like on average 2 billion per day. So, but I know we lose money per day. I may not vote for the 2 billion. Now, I said, look, and I brought this to address the issue of going to borrow money from outside. And I said, we borrowed money, external borrowing at that time was 354 billion. That's what we had put in our budget. And I asked this question. If it is true that we lose 2 billion per day, assuming and suppose that we reduce that to 1 billion, that we only lose 1 billion per day and we save the other 1 billion, meaning we don't lose it, that will be 360 something billion per year. Then I said I would not need to go to Washington to go and beg money from IMF, World Bank, nimenyonga tai, ninapanda ndege, so many hours from here to Dubai for 5 hours, another 13 hours to Washington, failing to sleep, to go and beg for money that we could get locally here by just reducing our appetite for stealing public funds. That's what I meant. I did not ask Kenyans to steal half. I only gave an example. And I said, please, if we can afford it, and we can, let us not steal even a shilling. So what action am I taking? You know, the government will take actions. The government will come up with the laws. The government will come up with institutions, DCI, EACC. All this will be coming for you. But let me tell you, the best way to deal with corruption is by changing our habits. It's just behaving responsibly, being moral. I have given this example, allow me to give it again.
All right.
That I was in Singapore. I've been to Singapore about 3 or 4 times, 3 times I think. No, 4 times. One time I went to have lunch in a very normal kiosk, very normal restaurant, not a kiosk. And when I finished, I realized I didn't have the local currency. I had the US dollars. But they were not taking US dollars. So I asked them, is there a bureau, a place where I can exchange? First thing that surprised me, they told me, yes, you can exchange here, but here the terms are not as good as if you walk some distance. And they showed me around 300 meters away, that if you go there, you will get better rates. That I realized cannot happen in Kenya. I don't know whether I'm misreporting or misrepresenting Kenya, but I don't think you will find it in many places in Kenya. Number 2, which again surprised me, they told me you can go there, get change, and come back and pay. So I expected them to give me someone to go with, so that to ensure that I come back. As I was walking and I'm looking back, I'm just alone. I went, got the change in local currency, came back and paid. How many Kenyans would trust anybody, more particularly, even if not a stranger, even someone you know, to go with money 300 meters away after eating your food, to come back and pay you? I don't know how many people would trust. Even if that person would really come back, you don't trust it. That is the kind of life that is there. That is the difference between being in that country and being in Kenya. What if we copy something like that and apply here? Wouldn't we have a better country? Do we really need EACC? Will we really need DCI? Will we really need CS for Finance to answer your questions why corruption is not being fought? It is just a conscious decision. And by the way, it almost happened in this country if we didn't drop the ball. In 2002, I was here, 2003 beginning. When Kibaki became president, Kenyans became very responsible. Very, very responsible. They even arrested police officers who were taking bribes on the road, because they thought there was a new beginning. Unfortunately, The leadership failed them, and now we are back to where we are. I think somehow we need another break like that. And that break doesn't really have to come from even politicians or leaders like John, but it can come from you. And you tried to exhibit and show it last year. How I wish that the same energy that you applied in the streets last year, you apply it also in changing our morality and our ways of doing things and our general integrity as a people. Because if it starts with the youth, let us assume that the old people may not change. We will all die, and soon Kenya will be better. Yes, if we fail to change, we will die. But the young generation like you, if you decide to change and make Kenya better, in a couple of years, people like Mbadi, if I was to live like what, I will not live more than 46 years from today. I don't see myself going beyond 100. So I will die soon. But you people will be here, and your children and the grandchildren. So start it today. Change the way things are being done. Let me move quickly. I think it was the same thing with Makanga and the corruption and economic inequality. Yeah?
Yeah. The other question
from
was...
Bunde. I think it was the same question.
Yes.
So Collins...
VAT.
Yeah.
There was a question on VAT and whether that is going to suit Kenyans in these hard times. Any changes on VAT that will hurt Kenyans?
No, I don't think there is any change in VAT that would hurt Kenyans. If you look at the list, I think the few that we have removed from zero to exempt, we have also tried to cure that by doing the same with the input.
Yeah.
So that the net effect is almost zero. The ones that we have moved from exempt to vatable at 16% are luxurious commodities, or luxurious items, like choppers have been enjoying tax exemption. Imagine someone buying a chopper is not paying tax, and you buy shoes and you pay tax. You buy clothes and you pay tax. That is how unequal. That's how unfair this our society sometimes can become. And by the way, this was introduced just a while back. I think someone wanted to buy choppers. And that person was in a decision-making position. That is very unfair. Just like this introduction in the bill, which was brought in by Parliament, to say that you cannot allow KRA to see certain data. It was brought by some people who maybe are just money launderers, who don't want their data to be seen. If you are not a money launderer, you have nothing to fear with that amendment. I will tell you. In fact, if I see anyone opposing this, I just know you are a money launderer in a way. Yeah. But anyway, it is there for Kenyans. So what I'm saying in short, that the only things that we are moving to vatable are those luxurious commodities which have unfairly enjoyed tax reliefs at the expense of you and I, whose salaries are being taxed to support some of these people. You are being taxed, imagine on your 50,000, you only earn 35 or 30. And that money is used to allow some people to import shoppers.
Youth Fund, Uwezo Fund was the other question. The allocation to Youth Fund, Uwezo Fund, that money is totaling to about 2%. Is it increasing?
But you see, the money directed to youth is not just that. There are other provisions in the budget. Even the Hustler Fund is getting more boost, 1 billion more. But let me also tell you, there is value addition under agriculture. And that is targeting job creation and employment. It is for youth. I will also give you another one. In the finance bill, we are doing a lot to make tea sector and coffee sector to be more competitive by giving tax reliefs. I will also give you another example that all this money that we put in health, it is for you, the young people. You are the ones who are still giving birth, as some of us have stopped. So if I put money for maternity, it is for you. It is not for me. I don't need any maternity. It's now my children who are supposed to be giving me grandchildren. If I'm still giving more children, then I have a problem. So all this money belongs to you. Primary health care is more for you people. So all the budget, look at the budget in totality. Education is for the youth. The money that we provide there is for the youth. But for employment creation, there is money that we are putting in for manufacturing sector. There is money we are putting in for value addition. We are putting quite a bit of money to support even the ICT, so that the youth are supported. So look at the budget holistically. I think that was the last one.
Yeah, that was the last one. Let's take another round. Yeah. We're just going to take just 3 questions. Start with this lady here. And please, just a question, so that everyone else can ask.
Nikazia.